All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Old Reader, New Reader. I am joined again by one of the best people in the entire universe. We spent about 10 minutes just complimenting each other back and forth. Phil, aka Shazam the Jam. He's
Hello,
returned.
I'm back.
I'm so glad, especially because with our last talk, I know that, so many people just love the conversation, had so many wonderful comments at the end. They're like, bring Phil back. He's great. He's amazing. And now you're here.
I'm all right.
I don't know if I should reintroduce you, people who haven't checked you out, but you can find Phil in a lot of information I put down in the description below. So if you want to follow any of his Twitch streaming, which is great and relaxing, it's a nice treat. You can do so. I recommend it. He is such a wonderful person with a great personality and genuine, and definitely somebody that you should follow. And that's not me just like blowing smoke up your butt. I genuinely believe that. So, and look at you have a Booster Gold shirt. So like you're like one of the best
Booster Gold fan club shirt.
So jealous. So jealous.
And now that I know the world will never know,
Gold Beetle exists, I'm gonna have to cosplay them because that's great. You should cosplay Booster.
Oh man, that's a lot of reflective material.
Yeah, but if you cosplay, I'll cosplay Blue Beetle. I've only cosplayed swimsuit Blue Beetle. I would like an excuse to cosplay actual Blue Beetle.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it's time to be the future I always knew I would be.
I just want us to cosplay together when cons come back. Really, this is just me like trying to find ways for us to cosplay comic book stuff together.
It'll be nice. It would be really nice. Yeah. It's like years in the making.
Stuff with me.
I'll do it.
Yes. Time to bring Donna Troy out of retirement.
Oh, bless her heart.
We did get to see her for like a little bit, which is cool. People at home. What we're talking about today is Brad Meltzer's Justice League America, which we read on recommendation of Phil. Thank you. It's my first time reading. Oh, nice. Nice. I meant to order ahead of time the like new deluxe of the book, and then forgot to do that ahead of time. So I just read it on DC Universe. But that's still a very accessible way to do that. Very thankful. Works. So this is the 2006 Justice League America, and the first 12 issues is what Brad Meltzer is on, for those at home who are curious. Yeah, and Joe says I'm rocking an awesome Booster Gold shirt. Yes, and Joe just picked up the deluxe to get catch up with us. So thanks, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
So yeah, I'm not exactly sure where to start with all of this, just because a lot happens. Basically, the Trinity is getting the gang back together, and by the gang I mean new people to the gang. And trying to figure that all out. So we start out with this really cool. The first issue was interesting. I guess we can try and talk about that, how that was kind of put together. Because there's this it was interesting to follow because they're talking about how the league was every time it got back together and how these three were when they got together. They kept doing this thing where they said yesterday on all of the panels, which I really dug. And then finally we got them starting to put together the new crew, which I should save a picture of so I can show that. Yeah, I guess we can talk about who's on the team. I really enjoyed this team makeup. We've got. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with that because one thing before, I guess we get into the team, it kind of just really represents the history of the DC universe, because you have your founders, you have your regulars, you have what seems like a graduation ceremony, for one character, finally making it to the big leagues. You got the one character that finally kind of embraces that they're ready to take the step up. Like, it's just such a nice selection of like characters from different eras.
Yeah. I got right here the first picture they take. This is blurry. Sorry, guys, it was quick. The first picture they take together is like their first formed new Justice League, which is just a great group of characters. Like, for me, of course, I'm excited to see Roy, which I'm sure is part of the reason Phil recommended it. This is some
just a little
some great Roy Harper content here. And I also am a huge Black Lightning fan. So really, you put two of those people in the same comic, I'm good. I'm in. That's like a dream come true. So yeah. So it was great to see them all. Okay, so I guess there's so much in this book. Normally we do kind of like a quick summary. Man, it's hard though to do on this. But I guess we can kind of like focus sort of chronologically, because like the beginning of this really does focus on Red Tornado. Before we get like the Justice League truly together, we have this sort of like beginning of just like the Trinity talking, and then we have this whole bit, the Tornado's Path, focusing on Red Tornado. Now, I don't have a lot of background on him except for like, oh gosh, how is it gone from my head? The cartoon.
Young Justice?
Yes, thank you. Young Justice, which I've seen all of it. I don't know why. It's an ADHD thing. So I don't have a lot of background on him outside of that. So I never knew he had a family or that like he could present human or anything. So that was all new for me. But I know a lot of people really enjoyed that bit because there's a lot of him, like, he died, I guess, before this.
Yeah, like, the problem with characters like Red Tornado and Vision, since they're repairable, basically, storylines always find a way to destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, honestly, like, even in the Young Justice cartoon, like, you notice, like, other characters will get incapacitated and the Red Tornado will get, like, completely obliterated. And, like, basically, that was kind of a recurring pattern with, like, Red Tornado, because one thing you said, like, you didn't know much about him, and sadly, there's not a lot of essentials that you need to know. Like, the cartoon covers his origin, like, of course it's modernized, but it covers his origin. And then the Young Justice comics, he was actually a mentor as well, and you got a little bit more insight on his family in that book. But other than that, it's just one of those things. Unless someone said I wanted to use Red Tornado, it was a character that was respected for joining the Justice League, but no one was really taking the opportunities to tell great stories about him.
Yeah. Like, I felt bad because going into his story, which I think is really good, it's hard to think about Vision, especially right now, with like WandaVision just being out. I just reread Vision. And so seeing someone like him and his story, I couldn't help but also think of him. But it was hard, to go through, because he's able to keep his spirit alive and enter another body in order to go back to his family. And he thinks that Dead Man is helping him, but he's not. It's actually somebody else, which bummed me out because I love Dead Man. I'm also a huge Dead Man fan. I think he's great.
Oh, Dead Man's a fun character.
Oh, so good. More Dead Man and everything, please. I think he's wonderful. But like, if he's trying to get back to his family, which he does initially, but he can't stay away for long from the Justice League, even though I think he should at that point. He's able to be human. He's got some of his powers. He should just chill with his wife and daughter, I think. But someone steals the original Red Tornado body. His whole thing happens, and he has to go and fight. and it gets way more complicated so fast. It was hard for me even to keep track. It was still very interesting. I really liked it, but it was like very quickly, they're putting together the Justice League initially, not completely yet, but they're bringing in people that they're going to bring into Justice League to help like find Red Tornado's body and like do all that and fight some other things. And then actual Red Tornado is trying to help too, but then there's Solomon Grundy. It's a lot happening. But I like it. But yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I kind of like how it starts off as separate stories.
Mm-hmm.
And because the beauty of what Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are trying to do, because they realize they're the ones that kind of broke up the league, because this takes place like a year after Infinite Crisis, and they were the ones that, due to everything that they were doing, the league kind of just fell apart. So they're trying to restore the league, and not necessarily for them, because it's one of those things like they're voting on if they get to be in the league. And this, like with a lot of comic book teams, your top teams are brought together by fate, or they happen to be in the same place at the same time, and they're trying to strategically build this from the top. Like, we want the best of the best. But I think the symbolism there, while they're trying to determine who's worthy, all these other characters are stepping up and being the Justice League that the world needs right now, versus making the perfect Justice League for tomorrow.
Absolutely, which is great. Like, and first of all, they're back and forth between the members of the Trinity is great the whole time. Just like of them deciding, who should be in, who shouldn't. Like, hey, Batman, sorry, but Nightwing, not it. Not it, my dude. But it's very cute and very close. And it's great to see. Even when they talk about Supergirl, he's like, no, not yet. But then Power Girl, like, yeah, Power Girl's fine. It's just kind of back and forth, which made me laugh a lot. But yeah, like, them talking about that at the same time, you've got all these characters that are, whether they plan to or not, getting involved in this main plot in really interesting ways. Like, you have Jefferson Pierce kind of working two angles. Because I don't have a lot of information for around this time, but he, I guess, is working for Lex Luthor, so he's using like his regular Jefferson Pierce persona for that stuff, for getting information because people trust him, but then also still doing his Black Lightning thing. And also Hawkgirl shows up, which that was a cute scene too, because he's battling some of the people from the future. I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
gonna
fine.
forget everything. And he gets really embarrassed because he gets his butt whooped. But like, but Hawkgirl shows up and saves the day. It's like, I'm so embarrassed. This is humiliating. Oh, Jefferson, it's okay. Yeah, and then of course, Roy getting involved. Vixen, every Vixen scene in this whole thing, I really liked.
She's to this day one of DC's like top potential characters that they sleep on.
Absolutely. And of course, they did a lot of stuff with her in Legends, but as far as like comic book Vixen, I don't think she's used enough. And it was great to see her be so prominent in this. I also see so many characters that you don't see a lot be prominent in this. Of course, I love to see Roy. Absolutely. We all know that. But I still, getting to see Jefferson, getting to see Vixen, that makes me really happy. And I always like the idea of Black Canary being part of the Justice League regardless, because I don't think a lot of people when they think of Black Canary, like normal people don't think of her as being like, yep, that's the one I would think of big DC characters, because she doesn't get her due a lot of times. But
she slept on a lot, and just the things that, like, that's why I love what Birds of Prey did for her.
Yes.
Like, Birds of Prey got her out of Green Arrow's shadow. And just really showed that this character's been around all this year and had all this potential, or all these years. And one day DC was just like, you know what? She does deserve the respect. And we're decades late on this, but we're gonna go full throttle.
Absolutely. Especially after Arrow, because I think that didn't help. I think Arrow, like the show Arrow's complete inability to do Black Canary right, probably was not helping comics either.
Yeah.
Or any other. But at least Young Justice did good by her. Young Justice did great by a lot of these characters. Thankfully. But yeah, I feel like I'm not going to talk about this, do this justice. Mind the pun of that. But
we're going to try our hardest.
Because there's so much that happens in that first bit in Tornado's path. Because yes, it does focus a lot on, Red Tornado and him dealing with his own humanity. Because inevitably, right, he's forced with a situation where, he's putting himself out there, but he's human now. And he has to deal with that. But there's also a Mazo who's copying him and his abilities in his body, who's attacking his family. And he's also fighting Solomon Grundy. There's all this stuff going on. And he's basically getting driven to the point where his human body is dying. And he doesn't have an option but to return to his robot body. And so it's kind of like this full circle of like, dying as a robot, wanting to be human, to be with his family, but ended up, and which was a beautiful experience for him, being able to kiss his daughter goodnight and having it feel differently, but inevitably just having to go back, which I think is really beautiful and hard to see, especially with Solomon Grundy beating the hell out of him. And I love Solomon Grundy. That was rough.
Yeah, I love the attention to that fight because the art does a fantastic job of showing the pain and desperation.
Oh my gosh, it's brutal.
And like there's a scene, we're kind of like jumping over, but it's hard to keep it contained because there's so much character focus. But there's a scene where Red Tornado gets hit by Solomon Grundy, like just punched in the face as soon as he arrives. Mm-hmm. And he has a nosebleed, and I think his nose is broken, but like the story doesn't tell it, but the physical body language tells it of how much that affected him, because this is the first time he's felt pain.
Or ever seen his own blood. Like at that point, he's like, is this my blood?
And like he literally took one hit from a heavy hitter and he could barely stand. And this is before like the cavalry arrives to like help him out. But like Black Canary's holding him up. It's like, do we pursue? We only have 4 leaguers and one can barely like stand right now. And like the artist did such a wonderful job in that fight of like Red Tornado just going through all that physical torment and emotional torment. Because this is a character that hasn't really been able to show emotion before.
Yeah.
And just to see, despite what he's going through, that he's still pushing on and being the hero that he's always been. It's not like programming. This is who he is.
Yeah, because even before he goes out, he's just shaking. His girl's talking to him and she's like, please, like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I've got to. But he's just shaking. He's so scared because he's got powers, but it's still different for him. And man, I mean, that whole fight was heartbreaking and just, gory and rough to watch. I mean, the man gets his arm ripped off.
Yeah.
But you get that scene towards the end, right, where they kind of have like a portal into there, and they're trying to get to him, and his wife is there too, and she has to watch this happen, and she can't get to him, and he's just getting beat up. He's dying. Oh, it was rough. It was just so sad. And by the time she gets there, he's like, "You gotta put me back. You gotta put me back in the other body." And he's like, I'm dying. There's no other way. And he's like, I want to see everybody again. I want to see. During that whole fight, he's only thinking about his wife and his daughter, and that's it. Oh, Meltzer's good at that.
Yeah.
Say what you want about some other books he's read. Yeah. But the man can tell like a human love story well. And I say
Yeah.
that because I'm a huge elastic, or oh my gosh, I can't talk
Elongate.
at all. Elongated Man. What is? I know what it is. It's the wine, but Elongated Man, right? Ralph and Sue Dibney. I don't care about the rest of that book. I just care about that bit of Identity Crisis. And same like that, I really care about this connection between these two people amidst all the rest of the craziness. It's just rough.
Yeah, he hasn't written a lot of comic books, but like that one and the Archer's Quest,
Oh, that was
like
so good.
those like to stay high on my recommendation list because I can recommend a Justice League story where, half of the team is traveling through time to prevent a post-apocalyptic future while the other one is fighting like a sun god that was awoken by, say, like Lex Luthor or something.
Yeah.
And it could be a wild, crazy, visual, like fever dream, like of an adventure. But you don't get a lot of stories in a team book that really break down who these characters are. And that's what I loved about like this approach with the Justice League of America. We got to actually see them as characters versus them as, the best of the best.
Yes. I think that's why you and I get along very well, because we both really care about, the character stories and things. DC, especially team books, usually big events, it's very action packed. They have a lot going on, bigger stories, whatever. When they have those situations, you don't get a lot of times for character specific stories or characterization. And I think that's what Brad Meltzer does well. He did it well in Archer's Quest. I think he did it well in Identity Crisis. I know there's problems with Identity Crisis, right? But still. And JLA as well. In this part and going forward, we get time with these characters. We get time to see their personalities. We get time to really explore their personalities, their thoughts, their dreams, their hopes, whatever. And a lot of big DC books, especially Justice League books, don't get a chance to do that. Even the smaller books, like they're not afforded that opportunity. Which I think, as a manga reader as well, which I'm sure you can relate to, manga and anime tend to give that to their characters. We get that time with characters, and that's something Western comics suffer from. But I think that's why this was really enjoyable. I got to have that time with them. Because like following the Red Tornado story, we get into more of like the beginnings of the Justice League fully being formed. And people are starting to get their invitations, which is cute. And of course, because they all voted on it, even like Batman gets an invitation. But people go and they talk to people like, well, we're not even sure they're going to say yes. And it's a yes after yes after yes. And then not to talk about my boy too much, but Roy's acceptance is very cute.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was so excited. They're like, do you want to join? He's like, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely yes. And then immediately he's like, oh, wait, this is a joke, right? Oh my God, yes, it's a joke. Oh man, yeah. Oh, sorry. And I was like, no, I'll prove it's not a joke. Okay, here, I promise. And he gets like the old uniform, and there's this whole big bit, and also this is, it was a sweet and heartbreaking too, because you also get this moment with Green Arrow, with Ollie, where he thinks they're coming out for him. He's like, oh, the band's getting back together. Oh, okay. Well, like, no, we're not actually here for you. We're here for Roy. And we get such a sweet little moment later, right, with him and Hal, which is beautiful. Like, their friendship is great. Like, Ollie and Hal are just wonderful. Where he's like, no, I had to make sure I didn't even go visit him because I would want to be there so bad. I want to be back in the league so bad. It's one of my best memories. And I love the team, but I know I need to step aside for someone I love more than the team, which is Roy. It's like,
Yeah, and that moment just hits like twice as hard after reading like the Archer's Quest,
Yes.
Because like I feel like you could just combine those two stories, and it's just like the evolution of Roy, basically. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Especially at this time, right? Because he's a father, you know, he's working on overcoming his addiction. He's in, you know, his version of AA or whatever. He's doing the steps, and he gets this opportunity to become something he never thought he'd be able to. And, you know, he basically, like, they give him even the costume and everything, like, he's official. And, you know, I've said it before, but, like, Roy Harper is at his best when he's on a team. That's when he falls apart, is when he's not on a team.
yeah.
So
And
Titans, JSA, you know, yeah. So go ahead.
and it is just one of those things where it's just like all these characters say they deserve to be in the league, and to finally like have that moment where you can finally say it with belief. Like a majority of characters say they should be at the top, and I mean it's kind of like, you know, like any sports competition where every team says they're the best team,
Mm-hmm.
but there's only like one best team, and you know Roy knows without a doubt he's one of the best, but this like clarifies it.
Oh yeah.
Like this validates everything that he ever thought about himself.
And then going off of that, like there's some really neat moments with Hal while he's with him. You know, talking about how much this means to him, and like, because Canary's talking to him, she's like, "Is this, you know, is this just bringing back the old days?" I think it's Canary, might be somebody else. And he's like, "No, it's not just that. It's just like seeing him. You know, this is what happens with our prodigies or our lineage. You know, I see why he chose him. I see Ollie in him, and it reminds me of us in the old days, and it gives me confidence, makes me feel good because I see his like bravery, Ollie's bravery in Roy, which, you know, I think it's just really sweet thing to talk about and see is, you know, how these different people see their proteges and how the other, you know, people in the league react to that, which was cute, especially since like we have a talk about proteges earlier where I think Diana's talking to Bruce after he's like, "Yeah, I got Jason, I'm really happy." And she's like, "Hey, how does Dick feel about that? Because I couldn't do that to Donna." it's just the way that they talk about their people is fun. I always appreciate the acknowledgement because we don't always get that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one thing I really like too, like it did such a good job of bringing justice, and like another thing as far as validating characters to Vixen, because before that Vixen was known for Justice League Detroit, and Justice League Detroit was not a good team at all. And you know, after that, I think she was in Suicide Squad for a bit, not like as a member with the bomb in their head, but like she was helping them out, and then she was just that character where it was like guest starring Vixen, and
Yeah.
Vixen was either treated as like, oh, she's a real threat, or she was on the joke Justice League or the worst Justice League, and like it was just nice to see the character come out, because even when like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, they're talking about members and they talk about Vixen before this, and most of them aren't even sold on her. And because like Superman says, like each time we've called on her, she's always fought by our side, and Batman says, so has Katana, so has Metamorpho. What's your point? And Wonder Woman is just like, I don't think she's ready. And you know, Vixen was just stuck in that tier, you know, because so many people want to put characters in tiers.
Yeah.
And she was just stuck in that Justice League Detroit tier, even though she has all the potential in the world, and it's honestly one of the most powerful characters if you think about it. She has a scary arsenal of abilities, and like after she got accepted, I just loved that thing where she's on the phone
Yeah.
and like a kid runs up to her like, "You're in the Justice
Yeah.
League." And she's like, "Oh, you remember me from the Justice League Detroit days?" And it's like, "No, I
You
saw you on
defeated a
TV."
Bezo.
And
See, now that's when I'll cry about it. It was
but
so sweet.
yeah, and it's just like it's a character because I've heard the phrase and I'll repeat it over and over. There's no such thing as a bad character. There's bad writing.
Preach. Absolutely.
And Vixen was just a victim of writing that just didn't make her essential.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time. Besides, like there was a run she was in, like Birds of Prey for an issue, and she was terrifying in that. But like this was the first run that really saw the potential in the character, and like the character wasn't asking for permission. The character was telling you that I'm important.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what I love about like some of the characters that they added, because you know these are characters that are slept on, like Red Tornado, Vixen, Roy, Black Lightning. Black Lightning.
Absolutely.
The most I knew about Black Lightning when this book was new, that he was an outsider, and that he was the first person to turn down an invitation to the Justice League. That was the depth of the character, like that I knew about him. And like I knew he was working with like Lex Luthor during that crazy President Lex Luthor period. I didn't read most of that though. Superman had like 4 books a month that when that was out.
Yeah.
But each time I saw Black Lightning, I was like, oh, that's the guy who turned down the Justice League. And it was just nice to finally see him take his spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Meltzer cares. I think that's something that we don't see a lot is that, you get certain writers who put together a group or you write a comic about different characters, but don't really take the time to know and learn about the characters. But I think Meltzer did that great in this. And I always say it because every time I think about a book with like a bunch of different characters that aren't given a lot of time, I think about Heroes in Crisis, which I shouldn't. And then I'm like, oh, that person, King didn't really take the time to really learn about those characters. But in this, I was like, yes, everyone is getting their time. Everyone, I feel like, is getting fleshed out well. Yeah, hashtag Meltzer cares. I do think that. I do. Because I think each of them is given time for us to learn about them and also given interaction time between the rest of the teammates, which is really cool. Of course, we got the whole like Roy and Hawk Girl thing, which is cute and funny, especially with Black Canary being like, "That's my boy, step off, don't hurt him," or Power Girl stepping in and being like, "Hey, I slept with Hawkman. Let me tell you, that's a rough couple to get in the middle of." And then, of course, with Vixen, what I really appreciate about her is we get a lot of different great moments, like not just her beating a Mazo, but also learn that she's more than her totem. She has these powers without her totem. She's still powerful. She's still strong and resourceful. And, all of her abilities can be used to different situations and advantages. And so good.
And that was an interesting time because like after that fight with Amazo, her totem was kind of messing up her powers.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like leeching, or not leeching, but using the abilities of like different animals, she was proximity based and using the abilities of different like powered like metas.
Yeah, that was interesting and a little bit hard for me to follow, but I still really liked it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, but it was interesting because there's one issue in there that is just like a self-contained issue, and Roy and Vixen are trapped in like a collapsed building.
Oh God, so good.
And it's honestly like I love suggesting self-contained issues because sometimes I have like books set aside in my head where I'm like, I only have one issue to get someone to read like a comic or something,
Yeah.
and you don't want to get them a whole thing. It's just like self-contained story. Read this, come back, and ask me if you want some more.
Hmm.
And it's such a great issue because, like, Red Arrow knows Vixen should be able to get out of this with her abilities,
Yeah.
but her powers have changed and she hasn't told anyone. And the only person she can like draw abilities from is Red Arrow, and all that's gonna do is just give her excellent eyesight to see how screwed she
Yeah.
is. And you know, it's such a good character moment between the two, and um, it's so interesting because the whole time you're reading this book, and they're collapsed, and she's on her belly. So it's from the perspective of like her belly. So like say like she's laying on the ground
Hmm.
and they're trying to figure out. And you know, you can try poking at the ceiling that's or the rebel that's above you, but it's just like they seem like they're not getting anywhere. And then the art, like the beauty of the art in this issue is it's all about perspective. And they're thinking the whole time that the building is on top of their back. But in reality, she's upside down. And, or like at least Vixen, she's upside down. She's trying to go what she perceives is up. But between like the building collapsing and the lack of sight and everything, she's digging the wrong way. And it, like, as soon as she realizes that, the panels flip. And all of a sudden it's like I think the word balloons were like upside down.
Oh yeah, it was very hard to read digitally. But
But it like it's a good job of like the art representing like the reality of that situation. Where like say if you were like stuck like that, like say if you were just like thrown in the water all of a sudden, sometimes you don't know which direction is
Mhm.
actually up. And they did a good job of really showing that from an artistic point of view.
Oh yeah, I can't remember which is that issue 12 or 11. It's
I
towards
think
the
it's
end.
11.
But like, yeah, the way that it was a different artist they brought in. It felt more realistic, that type of art. But like, each panel was very like thin, so you really did feel like you're in this sort of like almost like catacomb looking, like just very kind of flat grave level kind of like hole with them. And so it's very hard for you to even kind of pick out where everyone is. Um, but it's such a beautiful moment between the two of them because it's just the art's beautiful for one. It's very just like it lends itself to that situation, if that makes sense. Like it just and the struggle Vixen goes through just feels very emotional and tough because she's stuck and she could die there and they've got to get out. And it just feels very oh my gosh, Elliot. So Brad Meltzer's run doesn't have that moment. Elliot asks, this is the leak that leads to the alarming fight with
Oh
Lucas,
no.
right? He says, get it? Because really sorry. Elliot.
Wow.
So it's
Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Okay.
yeah, even Roy describing the glass in his hands and neck, yeah. It just feels like, yeah, very claustrophobic, very intense. And the fact that the artist and the writer are able to do so much with so little in that issue means a lot. Like, who would even put that in a Justice League comic today? Who would even put that in a book? That kind of scene. That's great.
You won't see that on the main League Justice League. Well,
No.
honestly, Bendis is writing it now, so you're gonna get some text bubbles. You're gonna get a lot.
Well, I feel like as far as that type of imagery, you could see that in like probably Ram V's like Swamp Thing or like Justice League Dark. That that kind of writer.
Yeah.
But no, that was such a good issue. I think that's my favorite issue of the run, even though like there's some really great scenes and other ones I really liked. But I think as far as like artistically, That's the coolest issue of Meltzer's run on this. It's so neat. Jane asks, why can't we get JLA stories like this nowadays?
Like, you know, I think Justice League is getting back to where they want events to revolve around the Justice League now. Because DC for the longest has had events that are like in solo titles. Like you have the huge Batman event or the huge Superman event. And I think after the whole Dark Knight's Metal thing, they kind of want Justice League to be the Kickstarter to those events, kind of like the Avengers titles were in the 2000s.
Yeah.
That's my perspective, at least.
No, I totally agree. Like it, which is probably the reason I fell off with like some DC stuff. But yeah, I think like, yeah, they're using like the Justice League as like the conduit or the catalyst to those types of events. Like if there's a big event through DC, like, well, we need to put it this way.
Yeah.
This will be the group to deal with it. Like Justice League Odyssey, right? Or stuff like that. Describing how Superman can't see them because of the lead in the building. So good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's so human. Meltzer's Justice League is so human focused, which is all I want from everything.
I love when the whole lead thing comes up in Superman stories because it comes up a lot, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of lead around. You just never really noticed, huh? Like this man can't see nothing.
They're like, we gotta have something because otherwise, they're like, why wouldn't Superman fix the situation, right? Which I get. I think about that all the time. I'm reading like any big story. I'm like, where is Superman? He can fix this in a second. Why are they
like, is that a lead building?
That's really weird. Lois wears like a lead outfit. She's like, this time you can't see anything. And he's like, oh, I hate how you tease me, Lois.
I just picture him going like rats.
Damn it. Jonathan is just like filling his his walls with lead. Like, no, Dad. Leave me alone. That's the story I want now. See, that's the stories I want.
I feel like Superman should like investigate buildings with lead. It'd be like, there's one building on this block that is just covered in lead, and he was like, and that's kind of suspicious.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go inside and take a look.
Why isn't Batman keeping track of that? Like that should be one of the first things. Like, okay. If I'm a villain of Superman, I'd put this together. So I should keep track of like if anyone's like really purchasing a lot of lead or like using a lot of lead in their like construction.
He just goes to a construction site and be like, so you using a lot of lead.
What's that about?
Yeah, what kind of buildings going here? A shopping mall? Okay.
Interesting. Jessica says, we have reached the writing fanfic portion of the show the best way.
Oh.
Yeah. Think about it. If Lois needed a surprise Clark Kent, how else would she do it? Surprise party? You can't surprise the man. You'd have to use the lead building. Where's that story?
I mean, it is canon in the Justice League cartoon. All his presents are wrapped in lead.
Jonathan hides his adult magazine so much. Oh, man. Oh, Kale says, wasn't that a plot? Superman knew where a bunch of explosions were hidden because they were only places he couldn't see into.
Is that a plot?
I would believe it.
Honestly, I would love to see that issue recommended.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's one elephant in the room I want to talk about with this arc.
Yes.
This run that kind of I didn't like. Well, it's two parts. One is like, okay, because this is what comics do. But like, kind of like say like, hey, if I'm suggesting this to like a new reader, there are some parts that are like teased that pay off in other books. Like I know there's one scene where like there's three characters like ultra humanite and like 2 other characters are like operating on a woman or something. And like that scene out of context makes no sense. But like it actually ends up being resolved in like the Booster Gold run. But
Yeah.
there's like no like real advertisement towards that. And the biggest elephant in the room with this run, honestly, like I love this run to death, but Geoforce is randomly thrown into this.
Thank you. Well, that's my next point. So I was like, one of the things that makes this not completely new reader friendly is that, like, unless you know Geoforce is, or know anything Teen Titans related, you're not gonna understand his whole deal at all, even a little bit.
And it's like it's wild because like you showed that picture where they took the group shot. They take this group shot. This is the Justice League. The next issue, he's in a training exercise with the Justice League, and he's a member, and it's not even addressed. And I'm reading this, and every time I'm just like, no one's gonna mention the fact that Geoforce was in an Amazo fight or didn't even get an invitation, and he's just here.
Well, yeah, was he not invited? Because like he was there when the picture was taken, right? And they're like, "Hey, you should get in the photo." And he's like, "No, not yet. It's not time." Like, okay, it didn't have any effect on anything. I don't know if he's just upset because he's got Terra's powers or whatever.
And the worst part about it is that payoff doesn't happen until like a one shot from Final Crisis.
Okay, great.
And like by then, it's such an afterthought of a payoff because like this run goes into like the Dwayne McDuffie run, and Dwayne McDuffie is one of like my favorite creators.
Okay.
And he did such a fantastic job with Justice League, but literally his next run has Geoforce, like the first arc, and then I kid you not, he is completely gone. No mention.
I believe that.
He's just off the team. And like it's just so wild because it's just like what are we doing with Geoforce?
No one knows. I've never known, even when Geoforce is meant to be there. It's like when he shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, Geoforce. Like it just feels like a weird, like he always feels misplaced in any book I've read.
Yeah, like Geoforce runs into a problem as a character where we're told he's important, but we're not shown why he's important. Like, and it sucks because, like I said, there's no such thing as bad characters, but like I feel like that's the one draw. If I have any criticism, it's just plopping Geoforce in after taking so much time to focus on the characters that made the team. Like it sticks out even more.
Yeah. And they spent a lot of time on Geoforce outside of that.
Yeah.
Like, oh man. And he's like, oh, hey, I gotta show you. Hand comes out like, oh, you have Terra's power. Yeah, but don't tell anybody. And this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in this run. I think because I really like this overall. I think it's not completely new reader friendly. I think people enjoy it more if they've read other DC things first. In fact, to these characters.
Because it is a celebration of the characters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do think that because of the time period this came out in, 2006, you do run into a lot of, like, the art overall is wonderful. I really like it. The downside of the art is that sometimes it falls into that pitfall many comics do at that time and before, where anytime there's like a female character, they're just naturally like butt to the screen. Yeah. And it is what it is. I'm not gonna like not read it because of that. It's just at the time that was very common. And so like anytime there's a woman like doing stuff, a lot of times it's like, okay, we have a close-up of the team. Can we put Wonder Woman's butt in front of everybody? Okay. Can Black Canary face this way which is a pose that I make cosplayers do, so I can't dog it too much. But where their butts towards the back, but they've moved their torso, right? And it is what it is.
Yeah. There's like the arc after this series, like the first one on Dwayne McDuffie's run. There's a scene where most of the Justice League is caught, and the villain is showing like the camera that shows all of them captured, and I think it's Vixen. It's like the biggest one you notice, and she's held like this, and her chest is like right up on the scene.
So goofy.
Oh man, some art decisions are just wild. I'll just say wild.
It is what it is. L. Denver says, now I want a book where Geo leads with the mental trauma of what you're saying about.
It'll be the most development he's got in a long time.
That's true. There may not be any bad characters, says James Abel, but sometimes they're a bad writer, like Tom King with Heroes in Crisis. Now that one, I can't put it all on Tom King, even though I sometimes do. Some of that is just a combination of bad decisions, like with DC editorial, right? Because Tom King was like, I've got a story. I don't know which characters. And DC editorial is like, these characters. It's like, okay. And it broke my heart for years. And finally, I can work past it because Roy's alive. And
while he's fixed-ish.
At least he's doing something.
I'm actually terrified because me and Supergirl are cool, right? That's one of my faves. And
I couldn't tell from your wall at all.
Yeah, just all of that over there.
I have her right here. I think do you have this one too?
Yes, I do.
I
got that.
She's so good. Sorry.
But Tom King is writing the Supergirl miniseries coming out in June.
Oh, really? That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm scared.
For Supergirl.
And beggars can't be choosers because I'm like, it's not like she has anything going on. But
that's true. I would just like more Mariko Tamaki because I'm still not over Supergirl being super. I'm not over it.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Oh my God, it's so good. So good. Real quick, Griffin X says, I just got into it just fine. It was my favorite of my first books. I really like the celebration aspect.
Nice.
But I want to jump in. Jessica asked, what's your favorite Supergirl run, Phil?
Oof.
Well, I'm curious, too, because I haven't read a lot of Supergirl. I've read Rebirth, and I've read Supergirl being super. But I haven't delved into a lot of others because I like her, and so I'm worried.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You got the problem with Supergirl, you really got to pick and choose with the arcs. Like one of my favorite celebrations of the character, honestly, was the Superman Batman run with Michael Turner that kind of brought her back into the modern era. I really like what Peter David did with the concept of Supergirl. They really took our original idea and just created a wonderful world that existed in its own, unbothered, unless there was a Superman crossover, they just really let the writer tell this unique story with a non-traditional Supergirl. And the last one's not the most popular recommendation, but I really liked after she came back the Joe Kelly run because it really took advantage of the fact that she was a teenager that was really just kind of lost. She didn't have a real direction, and she was bouncing around, and it was really relatable as far as thinking back to when you were a teenager, and it's where do I belong? What's my purpose? And those are my favorite runs.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people, usually when Supergirl comes up, I get the recommendation of Peter David's run. But yeah, I definitely want to read more of her anyways, because I like her a lot from what I have read. And that's, I think, why I'm so, cautious. Because if I love a character, I'm always worried.
Yeah, it's like
Ugh.
she has a very rocky um publication history.
Which, most of the characters I like do. So I should be used to it by now.
My cat's trying to knock over my tripod.
Aww.
That's her way of saying she wants attention.
I like her.
Um, speaking of, oh my God, Gracie, please. speaking,
Crazy.
speaking of Run, how did you feel about the second big arc, the Lightning Saga, that was in Justice League with the Legion of Superheroes?
I liked it. I was confused at first with them. But I like to talk about how everyone was really cautious at first because they were like, listen, nobody from the future shows up unless they're trying to fix something. It's always a fight. And I thought that was really funny and very true and something I didn't think about.
Yeah, that is true.
Because they're like, no, if they're here, they're trying to start something that we cannot let them start.
Yeah, I really liked because like Superman's feelings were so hurt that whole arc because those were his friends, and they're essentially not talking to him. Like I like at the end where like they do what they do, and then because it's a team up between like the Justice League and the JSA, and
Which is great.
And Starman is on the JSA, but Starman is like a whole complicated thing to explain as far as why he's on the JSA right now. And he's like the only Legion member that didn't go back, but Starman like suffers from a mental illness. I don't know which one, but basically he's all over the place. Like and Superman, like you just see Superman with this pouty face after the Legion leaves, and he's like, I want to talk to Starman. Like his feelings are so hurt that his friends aren't talking to him or let him know what they're doing. Like he's super mad.
I think my favorite part of that crossover wasn't what was going on in the middle, but it was that last splash page where you have the JLA and the JSA talking to each other. Do you remember just talking about whatever?
Yeah, when
Batman's just drinking tea, and you have like
teacup.
and Roy talking to our man, where he's like, "Hey man, if you need help, though, listen, like I'm in recovery." Like he's made to talk to. It was just cute, and like you have Hawk Girl. I forget who she was talking to. I think Black Lightning, but I don't know. She's like, "We're done, right? Like we're not on the clock." And he's like, "But aren't you like a member of both of these teams?" And she's like, "Okay." Being a part of it's one thing, but being actually part of the team, like being part of like the group aspect is different. Like I want to go, which I think speaks to her a lot.
And it's funny she said that because like I read most of the JSA by like Jeff Johns, and I was like, when I read that originally, I was like, dang man, I thought she meshed pretty well, huh? Okay.
I guess she wasn't about it.
Like I could just see like Stargirl going, it's like, so am I a joke to you?
Yeah. It was cute. Okay, I'm curious about one thing. Okay, so I don't know. I've never read any of that future like Justice Society or whatever.
Oh, the Legion of Superheroes?
Thank you. The most I know about them is from the show Supergirl, which doesn't speak well for me as a reader. So like I know Brainiac #5 or whatever, but I know him because of the show Supergirl. But there's that one character who is like all black with like the stars on him. Is that not the same character who's like Green Lantern's son, or is that somebody else?
No. That was Starboy who becomes Starman.
Okay.
He has gravitational powers.
Okay.
So Starman like appeared on the JSA after the 1-year time skip, and like the interesting thing about him was he was kind of a mystery because at first you're like, is this the same Starman that's from like the old school Legion comics? And then you're like, is this the Starman that's from like the Kingdom Come story, and because there was like a Starman in there that had Alex Ross design, and then you start getting answers. Like you're like, okay, he is from the future, and then there was an arc where Kingdom Come Superman came to the JSA, and then you find out that was the same exact Starman, and it's like that's an alternate Earth, like, and you're trying to get answers from Starman, but like I said, Starman like suffers from a mental illness. I don't know like the full history of it, but
Yeah.
he like you can't really he speaks in like clues and riddles, but some of the stuff he's referring to are like actual events that are documented in the future. But it all sounds like gibberish.
Yeah.
And he can't articulate it very well.
I've got to read more. Because a little.
Like he was a very fun character, and like honestly, the JSA run by like both runs honestly that were done during that time, just like if you love like the run in this Justice League book and just like the character spotlight, JSA was originally that place to go for it.
Okay. I'm making notes for myself because I want to read more. Because like after watching Stargirl 2, wow, my mic is moving along. I really wanted to read more about JSA, especially before going into Infinite Frontier, because we've got some characters from that.
Yeah.
Coming back. Real quick before we get to like just chill chat time, I know we're running a little over time. We gotta give this a rating out of 10.
Rating out of 10. I would say honestly, I'm gonna give it a high rating. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, only because of like some of the things I talked about that kind of took away from the story, like the whole Geoforce thing. But yeah, I'll give it a 9.
Yeah, I would give it an 8. And the only reason I didn't give it higher is for a couple of things that we talked about. And I think I could see myself giving it a higher rating again if I go back after reading other things. But the reason why I gave it such a high rating is because of just the character moments themselves. And we don't see that in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to think about this when I'm reading other things and thinking about Hal and Roy and Vixen and just these, like, really great, just real moments, which should be in all the movies. DC, stop giving me superheroes that don't care about each other. I want superheroes that are quippy and have real human moments and care about each other. Which CW does, honestly.
Yeah, CW does.
You know, especially, you know, Legends of Tomorrow. I'll just keep hyping it up every show I do. I'm like, guys, please skip season 1. Watch Legends of Tomorrow, please. Thank you.
I've been really enjoying Superman and Lois.
Me too. I like it a lot.
Although those kids, when they talk back to his dad, I'm like, you realize who you talking to, right?
I know. Ugh. It gives me the same feelings that I had when I was playing God of War. Because I was just very upset. I was doing all this work for my kid and he would be mad at me. And I was like, so the same feelings watching Superman and Lois. I'm like, your dad is Clark Kent, the sweetest man to have ever lived. And you want to give him a hard time? He's doing his best. He's trying so hard for you. Ugh.
I was watching it because I watch it with my partner. And there was like one episode, one of the kids was just being awful. And I was like, low key, this show kind of makes me not want to have kids. And she's like, stop watching it right now.
Ugh. They have cute moments though.
They do.
There's some good Jordan moments. Okay, look at the chat. Joe gave me out of 10. Trent says JSA is great. Ask Jess about Legion of Superheroes. That's his jam. All right, I'll ask. Blackwing 2040 said this run is 10 out of 10. I love this JLA run. Jaden says Sue Dimney belongs to the streets out of 10. Jaden, no.
I don't even know how to dissect that.
Listen, I'm a Ralph and Sue Dibney stan. Let's go internet terms here. I am dedicated to them. Um,
I love them. Even back when they were part of those horrible 90s Justice League runs that unfortunately was my first exposure to Justice League.
I'll just, Identity Crisis is what it is. But I saw that 2-page thing with Ralph and Sue. It was circulating on Tumblr where, Ralph talks about when Sue met him and how she's met all these handsome people in the Justice League, but she fell for him. And I've never gotten over it.
I share it every Valentine's Day. Like, it's some of the best writing in a questionable storyline I've ever seen.
Yeah, the rest of it I can't vouch for, but those like 2 pages, so good.
The one thing that used to really get me about that storyline, besides the obvious, but that scene where like that is just made to make Deathstroke look like the ultimate badass. Like, Brad Meltzer takes so much time to like develop the detail and how Deathstroke disassembles everyone, and when it gets to Green Lantern, and I'm like, Kyle Rayner has the most powerful weapon in the universe on his fingers. He sees Deathstroke going through his teammates one by one. What do you think Green Lantern does? And Kyle Rayner, the artist, throws a punch at one of the most skilled hand-to-hand fighters. What the character who had the best long-range solutions to incapacitate this guy. And I know it's for the sake of the story, but when have you ever seen Kyle Rayner lead with a punch?
Never.
Ever.
Bless. They can't do our people right, okay, Phil? They just can't. Can't do it.
Oh my God.
Except for sometimes, like in this story with Roy. But the majority of times, Donna, Kyle, they don't care about them. They don't care.
I actually like Kyle Rayner being in limbo right now because I'm like, that means nobody wants to kill him right now.
That's true. Yeah, I do. Kayla has a question. I think this is best suited for you, Phil. Besides Green Arrow Archer's Quest, are there any other must-read runs to read at the same time as or around Meltzer's Justice League?
Let's see. That was around the 1 year later period of DC. So if I'm picking like some good gems that were around there, honestly, there's a really good story. It's a Batman story. I think it's called Batman Face to Face. It's by James Robinson. It's such an underrated, like, good Batman story because after Infinite Crisis, Batman took his Bat Boys with him and went on a year just to kind of remind himself why he's doing stuff and bond with his family. So this is the big return of Batman and Robin to Gotham after a whole year. And it was so good because the villain in that, Face to Face, yeah. Not the villain, the hero that was protecting Gotham while they were gone is a very surprising pick.
Okay.
But I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, I want to read it.
Yeah, it's a very surprising pick. And things start happening, and it's one of those things where the clues are leading to who you think it is, but that person's being set up, and it's straining like the relationship between Batman's handpicked protector of Gotham and also just Batman and Robin reestablishing themselves back in Gotham. And this is like around that time they wanted to get out of the because I'm Batman phase.
Yeah.
So this was a Batman that was kind of warming up a bit more as far as personality, he was valuing his friendships a lot more. This wasn't like the Batman where it's like, well, I designed plans to defeat all of you and you could be mad about it. But like he was trying to be more human.
Yeah.
And compassionate. And it's honestly is one of the best 1 year later arcs that I can recommend from that era.
Do you want to read that next month?
I guess. Yeah. I guess we're just doing that.
And Ari, I'm like, I want to read that. That sounds great.
I don't own that one, so I'm gonna have to pick that one up.
We'll buy it for you. Don't worry about it.
What?
That's part of you get to be a guest. We just send you the book. Don't worry about it.
You can't do that, and I can't argue back live. That's not fair.
We have like I don't know, too many subscribers and like ad revenue. I don't know. We use it. It's fine. Paul, make sure when you say skip season 1 of Legend of Tomorrow, do you mean straight up don't watch it, or just soldier through with my brain turned off, knowing it would get better? Because I really want to start Legends. I think you could just skip season 1. I'm gonna be honest. You could probably watch like a quick recap on YouTube. The later I think it just gets better and better by season. Personally, just skip season 1. I think I didn't watch season 1, and I didn't miss anything out on it.
I remember watching season 1. Now ask me if I remember season 1, and it's a different answer.
It's just they didn't know what they were doing yet with a lot of it.
Season 2 is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. And in this last season, they play the thong song. Cisco is there, and they have a fight. It's the best show on. It's the best.
Are you serious?
Phil, yes, I am. Oh my God! Listen, Cisco is there, and there's a fight, and at the background of the fight, they're playing the thong song. It's 10 out of 10.
Why does it sound like you Googled the last 3 memes you looked at and balled them up into a plot?
Because that's what Legend of Tomorrow is. Like when I tell people, oh yeah, there's a lesbian couple, and also there's an episode where they're just at IKEA. There's a whole episode where they're just at IKEA building furniture. That's a fucking show. 10 out of 10. That's what comic book shows should be. They're serious ones. If you want serious, if you want angsty, Arrow's there, okay? The Flash is there. Should it have been this past season? I don't know. But Legends of Tomorrow is the comic book fun you're looking for. Also Stargirl.
Oh, Stargirl. I was surprised by Stargirl.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Ugh.
Like my expectations were so low.
Same.
And each episode I was like, wow, I'll even say that was good. Like it'll be like one of those reflections where you look around and you're not really like making eye contact with anyone, but you're just like, huh, that was
So they could do this the whole time. And that's like, not to harp on Titans too much, but like Stargirl did what Titans could have done, which is just like, hey, you got a team of younger superheroes, right? And they're dealing some pretty heavy stuff, but there's still color. Yeah. There's still life. There's still fun, and it's still tough.
There's still
people
hope.
Die in Stargirl, but like, man, it feels like a comic.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend it. Stargirl was a genuine surprise from beginning to end. Like I was on the last episode, and I'm just still like, wow, that was a whole good first season. Like
I know, and DC doesn't do well with first seasons, as we see from like many CW shows. The first season's just like not good. Exceptions, of course. I think Black Lightning season 1 was fantastic, but other shows didn't do well first season.
Yeah.
Jessica has a question. Okay, you get to create your own 5-person Justice League. Who is on the team? Who writes? Who does art? That's a very hard question. That
only 5 people? You expect me to just casually just name 5 people?
Don't 3 of them have to be the Trinity?
Actually, a year ago, I think I sent you a list. There was a year where like someone had a Justice League game. And they were like build your own Justice League, but they had to be like categories. Like you can only have 1 member of the Trinity, like 1 alien, 1 wild card, and everything. Like that was pretty fun.
I wish we had that now because
I would have to look it up. I could probably find it though.
I'm sure it's in our messages, but I don't know further like this.
But a 5-person.
Let me see. yeah, I like having parameters.
Just to answer your question, oof. I'll start off with, if I only got 5 people, I want a Green Lantern.
Of course.
And I'm going with John Stewart. Because with a smaller team, he can fit that Green Lantern card and leader card.
Mm-hmm.
Wally West Flash. Oof. This like
I know.
hurts. I've always liked the idea of having a junior member, like kind of like a protege member, or like a hero in training, basically, where it's like they're ready for that next step. They just need a little guidance. And I'm gonna be real. One of the things I loved about Justice League Unlimited was how Green Lantern and Green Arrow mentored Supergirl in that series. And I always thought that that would be so good for the Justice League to, say, have a character like Supergirl. I've always said either Supergirl or Blue Beetle in my eyes, like the Jaime Reyes one.
Yeah.
Because like they're characters that are just scratching at the top ceiling, but they just can't get out of that legacy role.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think the idea of just kind of recreating that like Green Lantern Supergirl mentorship, where like, you know, like John would give her like the tough love, but like he wasn't beating her down at the same time. Like I always thought that would be so cool, like in an actual Justice League setting.
Yeah, I agree. Because like Supergirl's a hard character to put on a team. She's almost too powerful for like a Teen Titans group, but she's still young and needs to learn. So I agree that I think it makes sense to have her in like a Justice League team.
Yeah. And I gotta think of 2 more characters after that.
I know. We need to find those parameters. I'm literally looking right now, but I don't know where it is.
Wait, I have an idea. I think we sent it in like Google Docs at one point.
Yeah, I think it's too hard because I'm trying to think of like. Okay, yeah, I'm never gonna find anything.
Well, I'm more than halfway there, so.
All right.
Yeah. I just have to think of 2 more characters.
I feel like if I go and choose one of the Trinity, I obviously want Wonder Woman, because of course I do. And then you need someone who's like very overpowered. So I think Supergirl. Booster Gold, because you need the comedy. Mr. Terrific, because you need someone very, very smart. And then for the last one, to balance out that team, you need an alien. So I'd say we're going to go John Johns.
Okay.
And that's like, this is like this would be like feeling like I have to choose very quickly. And I want Mariko Tamaki writing it, and I want Joelle Jones on the art.
Oh man, I forgot we even got to pick a writer in. Okay.
Done. This is just like, okay, without any, I could go with a better team with more time, but that's like that's my ADHD impulsive reasoning.
All right. Let's see. For my impulse, I have to add 2 more. Let's see. I got Wally, John, Supergirl. I'm gonna check the magic box, and we're gonna add Zatanna. So
yeah, that's important.
My team could yell "pots" at your whole team, and they would have to stop, because stop backwards is pots. So my team wins already. Let's see. Last character. We're gonna give my girl some love here. We're gonna go with Black Canary.
Oh yeah, she's like a leader too.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm gonna put her and Green Lantern in like Green Lantern is like the field tactician leader, and then Black Canary is the chairwoman.
Yeah.
So that's my Furious Five. I thought that was an original saying, but I think that's the name of one of the Fast and Furious movies. So never mind.
Joe, that is a Damien statue behind Phil. He also has this beautiful.
No, it's a Tim Drake statue. Don't disrespect
Oh,
him.
it is. Oh, sorry. It just looked like Damien from here. I'm so sorry.
No, it's funny because actually it comes with a Damien hidden sword as well. So
okay.
Yeah, you just Sideshow literally said just pick your Robin and pay the same price.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But man, your Starfire figure, I thought about that a lot. I almost got it.
I love it,
so
honestly.
Nice. Let me catch up on the chat. Okay, so we've got some team ups people put together. Elliot says, boom, the Question, the Spectre, Professor Chimp, Zatanna, and Red Arrow, Gail Simone, and the guy who did art for Heroes in Crisis, Clayman. That's a good team. I think that's fun. That's a fun team.
I wish his name was actually the guy who did art for Heroes in Crisis. Imagine that signature on your book.
I love it because Clayman is very good at like illustrating men, but then his women who are beautiful have no facial expression.
That is true.
Yeah, it's just. Martian Manhunter, Question, Huntress, John Stewart, and Blue Beetle. I like it. I like it, Justin. Jessica called us a nerd for potentially having a Google Doc Justice League document.
Hey, yes.
Ooh, Jaden, that's a good idea. I don't know how that would work. We should do a Justice League fantasy football thing.
I would be down. That sounds super chaotic in the best way. That sounds like, I mean, think about it. You can do like a live stream and like have a few people and pull up a huge roster and just draft away.
I like it. Jaden, you figure out how to make it work. We'll do it. He also said, you put Superman and Captain Atom on the same team, we never losing.
Yes, we are, because Captain Atom takes L's for their whole comic book career. He's so powerful, but that character has taken the most L's I've ever seen as far as a character on that power scale.
All right, more super. Look, Jessica, you killed it with like the question. I'd go Superboy, Cyborg, Raven, Wally, and Oliver as an elderly mentor.
Nice.
I would like that. I just love Ollie.
Yeah, we love a Somali. And then when Ollie lets us down, we go, dang it, Ollie.
I know. We love him. Raven, Supergirl, John Stewart, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter. Good choice, Carly.
It's a lot of Raven love.
Captain America. Hey, this isn't.
So the name of your book is Lawsuit. Cease and Desist is the name of the first event.
You got too many people on this list, Abby. Mr. Terrific, Powerful Girl, what's happening? Power Girl, Jessica Cruz, Wonder Woman, Captain Atom, and Mara. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Mara. I always forget about Mara.
I do too. I feel so bad about it. I forget about Aquaman and Mara, even though I love their books. It is what it is.
The problem with like Mara, I was talking to my friend because you know I'm a big Aquaman fan.
Yeah.
Lately, it's just it sucks because you got to separate the character from the actress. But I think of, you know who, when I think of Mara, and I immediately just go. So I'm trying my hardest to separate the two.
I just have to force myself to think of like, I don't know if it was, I think there was like an art germ cover of Mara, and I think about that. It's whatever they made the statue of. And so I just think about that Mara. I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Did you see the art germ cover for the Batgirl Cassandra Cain for the?
Yes.
I need it.
I've been wanting to buy his like poster. Like he has like these DC poster portfolios.
I have both of those.
Yeah, is it worth it?
I haven't opened them.
I want them so I can put them around the house, but I don't want. It's hard. I'm like, okay, if I buy these, I can just use the posters I wouldn't use as gifts forever.
True.
Because I only want the pretty lady ones. All of my posters are just like DC or Marvel ladies.
I know the moment I open them, I have to buy a lot of frames, and I'm like, man, I don't feel like buying frames. So that's why I have to have them like wrapped up still.
Carly Static absolutely counts. Always. Oh yeah. Does he need more love? Yes, but he's getting it finally because we're getting more milestone stuff.
I can't wait for all the milestone stuff.
I know.
In one of my dream Justice Leagues, honestly, Icon and Rocket would be on the team.
Jane says Black Lightning, Vixen, John Stewart, Bumblebee, and Cyborg for mine.
Okay.
Great choice.
I see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Kale, have you already done over your new reader for the rest of Sandman? No. So we've had 2 Sandman over your new readers. And the first we did was like the first couple of like volumes or like absolutes or something. And then I read volume 5, which is I already forgot what the title was. So we haven't done the rest. I'll see if we end up doing it or not. I'm still lukewarm on Sandman. Jessica, my birthday's October, Maddie, when you get that book. Okay. I'll get the book and you can have some of the posters. Yeah. So we went over time, but it's been really fun. So I don't regret it. I just like hanging out with you.
Oh, it was fun. I hope everyone had a good time just hearing us talk about Roy Harper and the gang.
I only almost cried one time. That's pretty good. So yeah, if you're free sometime next month, let's schedule Batman face to face.
Yeah, I guess that's just how it's gonna flow. We're gonna talk about a book and then it gets added.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, this was great. I had a lot of fun. So I guess let me do my thank you to everyone in chat. First of all, thank you to Phil for joining me again. Everyone, please remember to follow Phil on Twitch. He's a great person to listen to and watch. Genuinely. I know he feels awkward because I'm hyping him up, but I just think Phil is great, so I'm gonna do that.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody in the chat, for hanging out with us today. It was really fun chilling with you all. If you're catching this later and you want to tell us what your thoughts on Brad Meltzer's JLA, comment down below. I hope you like this video. Subscribe. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. I'll be back next week talking about Princess Leia by Mark Waid. And Melanie Valdivieso will be joining me. So that should be fun. And yeah, we have Patreon and stuff. So, and some of this stuff. And tune in next month sometime once Phil and I figure out a date to talk about Batman face to face, because I'm just going to keep Phil and Retainer.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having a wonderful show. And thank you to the audience for being a wonderful audience, because without an audience, there would be no show.
That's true. We'd just be hanging out, which is
and who wants that in 2021? Ugh.
I do. Do you remember conventions?
I
do. Anyways, good night, guys.